Nathan, what encouraged you about this sermon as you wrote it, preached it?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one big thing that I just noticed immediately was like, why would he feed these people? And then, like, why would he leave them? And even though it kind of ends on kind of the somber note, it's like, what he is doing is what he has planned all along, and it's difficult. He went through it, and that means, like, the things I go through are difficult. And if he did it, I can do it too.
Nathan? Sorry, not Nathan. Caleb?
You want to stop this one?
The other Caleb?
I was just encouraged by kind of being taken back to this scene through your preaching and seeing what Jesus did. That's kind of, I was encouraged by that. Yeah. Miracle.
Right.
Yeah, I was immensely encouraged. You had a line, Jesus doesn't just satisfy our stomachs, but he satisfies the soul. And I appreciated that insight. Looking forward to what Christ was going to do.
Yeah.
Appreciate how appreciate how you just reminded me how miraculous some of these things that Jesus did actually were. And like it just kind of made me like amazed once again, like how he actually did like feed all of these people. That's a crazy feat to think about.
Yeah, I think I was encouraged most by this idea that whatever Jesus has, it's good enough for me, whoever I happen to be. So it was directed at homeless guys, but if I wasn't a homeless guy, it wasn't like, well, it's just for homeless people. You went out of your way to be like, this is exactly what Jesus got is what every one of us needs. So, where do you think you might have misstepped? Just like, I don't know if I got this right.
Yeah, with the whole structure of the sermon, I was trying to do this thing with characters. And I started with it, and I didn't really go back to it a lot, and I think that wasn't helpful at all. So I was trying to do a different way of moving through my sermon, and it just didn't show well.
I affirm you. Okay. Caleb.
Nathan, I liked with the gospel connection, moving from hunger to sin. I guess one of my desires in that part was just maybe that somehow the connection was made stronger, or how we're going there.
More clear.
All right.
I think you missed a knockout punch. Jesus being on a hill or being on a mountain alone wasn't going to be the last time that he was on a mountain alone. And I think there would have been just a really good gospel opportunity there that you could point to the cross.
Theo?
I did have a hard time following like where you were at sometimes in the story. I think you told the story well. So I was like, there's a problem, you problematize the problem, and then you solve it well. But transitioning to us after that point was kind of hard, and it was hard for me to see how you were doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, so you had a very much rougher interaction with your notes than I think I almost have ever seen you have. And I don't know why that is, but it kind of felt like everything was teetering just on the brink of you losing control of this whole sermon. You were barely holding on to what you were saying, and it wasn't really clear what the next sentence was going to be, and that it was not even maybe written down, but you were scrambling for it. That's kind of the way it felt all the way through the sermon. So it was kind of distracting, and then it was also kind of wait, what are you talking about? Caleb?
This I wrote down, Nathan, there was a point where you said, when you were talking about Jesus being on the mountain, and then talked about at the cross and being alone.
Oh,
And
he
I
did
think-
say that. I missed it. I got lost in the sermon. Sorry.
Well,
It was
Nah.
yeah.
And you said something like we should be with him on the mountain. Anyway, I was just a little confused. I didn't know what you exactly meant there.
Right. Yeah.
What were you maybe
the
getting
idea
after?
there was Jesus isn't the problem. The problem is that like we didn't we're not with him.
Huh.
Like Jesus being up there alone may seem sad to us. Like, oh no, Jesus is alone, but it is sad, but not for the reason you're thinking. It's not because Jesus is by himself. It's because there's nobody there with him. Like Jesus is fine by himself, but the problem is that people aren't with him. Like it's our problem. So I don't know if that works or whatever, but it definitely wasn't clear in the
Right. It wasn't clear in the sermon.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few things that you said that if the context is I'm preaching in a homeless shelter, the whole
Yeah.
concept of something blowing up
Yeah.
in terms of social media language, Cardi B, Gordon Ramsay, Bobby Flay, I don't know
Huh.
if homeless
They have
people...
cell phones.
Yeah,
But they're not using them for that all the time.
yeah. I don't know how many homeless people are looking at Bobby Flay videos.
Right.
While they're,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just the contextual
Yeah.
illustrations, I think. Yeah.
Agreed. And I mean, there's nothing. Believe me, this is going to go down in history. Annual salary.
Oh gosh. As soon as I said it, I was like, scratch that.
Oh, that was the funniest. That was the funniest self-catch in
And
here.
I
Oh.
hold my never tell myself things. I just have to write them down.
That was hilarious.
Never tell myself things. Just write them down. Gosh.
Did you catch that like before?
I just knew I might say something like that. I'm like, you better be careful here. And then
It's fine.
is it though?
Learn, but this is the way to learn, right? Is you catch yourself here, you're like, yeah, no, I need to be more careful about the way I say this stuff.
Crazy.
I think like the part of your sermon that like I'm not really sure how I would do this.
Mm-hmm.
You set up like we really need to understand who Jesus is,
Mm-hmm.
and then you do explain who Jesus is at the end. But I don't really understand even like when I'm looking at this text and hearing your sermon, like why, like what is it that these guys like missed in their understanding about who Jesus
Gotcha.
is? Because they say a lot of right things.
Right.
So that's just something that like I didn't understand.
Gotcha.
Okay. I don't. Was your main point? Once we understand who Jesus is, we will believe him, be with him.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Yep. So it was about with that much authority that you argued to that point.
Gotcha.
So I was kind of just like, yeah, there's some stuff about Jesus, and I should believe it, but you weren't like driving towards
Gotcha.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I'm not clear, I'm always self-doubting, and I just need to go for it. Even if I'm not, like, if I'm
Yep.
not,
Yeah.
I just need to go for it, and that's what I gotta learn.
Agreed. That's why you're here. So, all right. What do you think? You're like, okay, I tried to make an improvement on this, and I think I might have something I tried to do well.
So I don't know if this was like a great thing, but it's just hard for me to connect with the people like while I'm telling a story like this, and I still tried not to connect as directly as I normally would try, but like kind of indirectly, and I felt like if this was a better context or I changed some of my contextual things even more so it would have worked, but I think it was pretty well with how I was telling the story,
Okay.
keeping people engaged.
All right. Caleb.
One word of affirmation is you're expressive, Nathan, in a good way that's engaging. yeah, you really kept my attention, and just your emotions kind of moving with the story.
Right.
I thought you set the background really, really well. So you gave some good background information that helped them understand the context. You did a great job of that.
One thing you did in your background that I thought was a really cool move was when you went and started talking about like yeah, Jesus was like doing all these miracles, and then you kind of went back and like started tracing out some of the miracles that they had seen in the Book of John itself, which I thought that was just like a cool way of like teaching like the Book of John, like not just not just this section, but pointing out like in the Book of John he healed a lame man, and he did this and he did this. I just thought that was a really cool way to like flesh that out.
So I like the way that you you get to the end of the story and you're like, okay, so this is what we expect. And you kind of told us briefly like the way we would assume the story would go. And then you're like, but that's not the way the story goes. No one gets what Jesus was doing. And then you just lower your gaze like 3% and go, so do we get what Jesus is doing? Now, we would have gotten it much more if you had been clear about it. But that move overall is right. Like, this is what we expect. It didn't happen that way. How are we going to respond to this? That was well done.
Yeah, Nathan, my other word of affirmation here is you told the story, it was very clear. You're preaching from a narrative, and this might seem like a small thing, but you told the story well. And I don't think you gave out homiletical points, but you didn't need to, because we were right there moving along the tension of the story. And I like how you sprinkle throughout your retelling various analogies to help us kind of grasp it, like LeBron James, and that's helpful. Yeah.
That one wasn't uncultural, was it?
That one might have worked. It had a better chance of working than Bobby Flay, that's for sure.
Nah, I don't remember why you said that. Oh yeah,
Sure.
cooking.
Should have said Michael Jordan, man. Chicago.
No, I was imagining myself in that place in Louisville, so
Oh,
There
interesting.
you go. There you go.
it was a specific one I was thinking of.
Alright. The flip coin of what Jeremy was talking about in terms of you felt out of control, you literally could have driven off the cliff when you caught yourself with the salary.
Yeah.
And you
That was gonna be
did
mine.
it. And so
Right.
I think I just want to commend you for being able to hit the brake enough and
Right.
kind of just compose it and finish off.
Mm-hmm.
So well done on that. You didn't lose it. You were close.
Well, I got back on.
That's
That's
right.
That's right.
Got back on the highway.
You did. You did. Yeah, I was going to commend you for that too.
Dang, it's always the worst. They steal yours.
I know, man. I actually I think he did like a little. I thought your LeBron James illustration was actually pretty good, honestly,
Mhm.
because I thought it took like kind of an abstract concept. It's like nothing plus Jesus equals everything, and you're like, oh, how do you like say this so people will get it? It's like, all right, so what if you're like playing basketball and everything is stacked against you, but you have like this guy on your side, like don't you think the odds would change? And I felt it too. I was like, oh yeah, if I had LeBron James on my side, I wouldn't doubt I would win this game. So I thought that illustration worked pretty well. And honestly, I thought all of your illustrations just worked and were interesting and kept me engaged. But yeah,
Homeless people.
yeah. So
Thanks.
I think that it could have been much more precise and much more streamlined, but the stuff that you said at the introduction was good. So you kind of got lost and you kind of repeated yourself or whatever. But the content of there, I don't know what you guys are going through.
Yeah, that was good.
And you might not even want to be here. right? So just kind of conceding that kind of stuff at the beginning. But this guy, Jesus, he knows what it's all about. That kind of thing, that was the right way into some of this stuff.
Gotcha.
So my encouragement there for you is like write this stuff out and like get it down as far as like how to take those, because you repeated yourself a few times and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So make it like one paragraph. Get in. You're just like rocketing down towards
Gotcha.
the text. But what you said there was the right stuff. Good job.
Thank you.